Hello, everybody, and good to see you. Apologies to those who came along last week expecting to see me. Um, it was a busy week. uh, Event organisers seem to have got their act together and figured out how to do online conferences, even exhibitions. The only problem was that last week they all decided to do it at the same time. Not all of them, of course. The intermodal event, live webinar style, Intermodal Connect, went on for 3 days. I had the pleasure of giving a brief presentation and taking part in a panel discussion about the current status of the container shipping business, which was quite interesting, I have to say. You think you've got problems. And Logichem, unable to meet in Rotterdam, or in Amsterdam this year, I can't remember, but anyway, it went online. So that was for 2 days. Stock Expo was on for 2 days as well. I'm hoping that's been recorded because I didn't have time to get in there. Anyway, there was also a webinar, the third webinar in the series that TT Club and the UK P&I Club done on container ship fires. TT Club, as you probably know, has been involved deeply in trying to address the persistent problem of fires aboard container ships. And while we haven't had any major incidents this year, there have been the normal litany of small onboard fires that have been dealt with by the crew, and smoking boxes delivered to ports here and there. What this third webinar looked at was really what happens afterwards, which was quite alarming, really. Mostly with representation from Brooks Bell, the surveyors and loss adjusters, I think, and Penelope Cook gave a very alarming demonstration, actually, of what it looks like on a container ship after you put the fire out. And I mean, the first issue is you've got a container ship on fire, where do you take it? And not all ports are happy to accept a burning container ship, or indeed even equipped with it, especially as they're going to have shore-based firefighters available to deal with it. You're going to have to be disposal facilities to get rid of the waste, which may well be toxic, and to have a berth tied up for what can be quite a long time. And as the other speakers said, explained quite clearly, that the actual process of going through each and every box, especially on a big modern container ship, can take months. And of course, each one, for insurance purposes, does have to be looked at. Are the goods sound still? Does it come under general average or particular average? And as Penny pointed out, you know, with some pictures, all that fire water running through the burning boxes is sluicing out probably contaminants from chemical cargoes carried on board, but also other cargo caught up in the fire. Certainly if it's plastic toys, for instance, that have been on fire, then you've got some potentially toxic gunge coming out of that. And, you know, if it's a fire at sea, the responders will be using seawater to fight the fire, and adding salt into this cocktail of chemicals, as she said, chemical sludge that then is left in the hold. And there are problems then, you know, if you've got to get responders in to deal with it, it could be quite hazardous for them. So there's lots of things to think about and understand when a container ship event like the MSC Flaminia, say, took an awful long time to come to court and an awful long time to pass through court. And of course, it's still, I believe, subject to appeal. So for every lawyer who's got one idea, there's a lawyer who's got another idea, and he's quite willing to argue it at great length at somebody else's expense. Not that lawyers are particularly different from anybody else. Don't get me wrong, I'm not having a go. But it was a very instructive and illuminating hour and a half, really, by the time we finished, I think, to spend with some people who know what goes on a container ship on fire, and what a lot of people are going to have to deal with when the fire's put out. I hope that is recorded and available via TT Club. Certainly worth looking at, as indeed were the first two webinars in that series on what causes container fires and the firefighting methods that are available or not to the crew on board. I also had a chat the week before last, actually, with James Douglas, who's CEO of Exis Technologies, because what they are doing at the moment, which is the result of over 30 years of looking at dangerous goods being shipped by sea, and 3 years of their ownership by National Cargo Bureau, the US-based non-profit organisation that is actually involved largely in inspecting containers ashore on behalf of US Customs, US Coast Guard and other parties. And as James explained, what the partnership really between Exis and NCB is a no-brainer, because NCB has got the physical experience of actually opening boxes and looking inside them. And Exis has got all this experience and an enormous database of compliance with the IMDG code and its HazCheck system, which is used by 9 of the 10 the biggest container lines and a lot of other people, is a simple way of checking that you are putting your goods into the dangerous goods supply chain in accordance and compliance with the IMDG code. Now, where we've moved on to over the past 2 or 3 years, I think, is actually combining that expertise and saying, well, we know that goods are getting into the supply chain undeclared or misdeclared. Once it's in a box, you don't know what it is. But NCB often does, because they're the people who are looking at the boxes. And in collaboration with initially Maersk Line, I think, Exis has developed this system, HazCheck Detect, that interrogates booking bills of lading, declarations and so on, looking for the sorts of telltale signs that suggest that something in a box is not what it should be. And this stuff is almost instantaneous. So the lines will feed information into it and get an answer within seconds online. And that'll allow them to stop the box if they think it's suspicious. And what James said was that, hundreds of suspicious boxes are being found every day, not all of which are actually suspicious. There may just be a mistake or a misunderstanding or something that could be cleared up quickly. But he did say that 40 to 50 boxes are being prevented from getting on board the ship every month, I think that was. And that's 40 or 50 boxes that could end up causing a disaster like Maersk Honau, for instance. So it's interesting to see where this is going. And as James said, the arrival of machine learning and artificial intelligence, he's a computer engineer by training, after all, offers Exis and NCB and their clients a chance to improve the system, find more undeclared, misdeclared dangerous goods, before they get onto the ship. And so hopefully, we won't have to be sending people down into the bowels of a container ship filled with toxic sludge, or at least not as often as we're doing at the moment. So it's good to be able to report on some positive progress in the area of container ship fires. I don't think that's the end of it by any means, but at least we are heading in the right direction. Thank you for watching today. I hope you found something of interest in there. Next week I'll be back, and I dare say, bearing in mind what I've been writing about for the next issue of the magazine, I should be talking about something in the area of digitisation, which is not to say that House Check Detect isn't the application of digitisation in the supply chain. Anyway, until then, stay well. See you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.